Welcome to the MarketRent Weekly Brief, your go-to source for the latest insights and updates in the real estate market. Each week, we'll bring you the most important news and trends to help you stay informed and make smart decisions. Let's dive into this week's episode.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are sitting here mid-2025. And if you're in the multifamily property world, especially dealing with Section 8, well, this feels like a pretty key moment, doesn't it?
It really does. The latest numbers, the Q2 data for this year, just landed. And honestly, they're pointing towards some genuine strategic openings.
Strategic openings, okay. So the goal here today is what? To help people figure out how to use this info.
Exactly. We want to help you connect that market intelligence directly to your property.
Yeah.
Get past the headlines, really understand where your asset fits in, and then make smart choices to boost performance.
Right. Leverage what's happening now to unlock that potential. It's about feeling empowered, not like you missed something.
Precisely. Empowered to act strategically.
All right, so let's get into it. This Q2 2025 data. What's the main story? What's the national picture telling us?
The big thing jumping out is the relationship between supply and demand. Nationally, the rate units are being absorbed leased up is actually outpacing the delivery of new buildings. That's a significant shift.
Huh. Absorption outpacing deliveries. Why is that happening now?
It's a couple of things coming together. Developers, well, they've really pulled back on starting new projects. Higher interest rates, construction costs shooting up, labor issues. It all adds up.
Makes sense.
So the forecast now is for a pretty steep drop in new units coming online this year. We're talking something like 40% decline compared to recent trends.
Wow, 40%. That's a massive number nationally.
It is huge, and it immediately tells you there's less competition coming from those brand new, shiny properties.
Right, so fewer new units, but demand is still there.
Demand seems steady, even growing in many places. So you put that together, less new supply, steady demand, and you get this supply-constrained environment.
Okay, supply constrained.
Yeah.
And for someone who already owns property, that sounds good.
It's generally favorable, strategically speaking. Less new competition usually means more, let's say, room to maneuver when you're thinking about rents and your overall market position.
Okay, so the big picture nationally looks pretty decent for existing owners. Strong absorption, way fewer new builds, potential for rent growth. But, real estate's always local, local, local. Does this mean everyone is seeing the same opportunity?
Oh, absolutely not. Not by a long shot. And this is where it gets really interesting and, frankly, more useful for individual owners.
Right.
While that national trend is a positive backdrop, performance varies wildly when you zoom in.
Yeah.
We look at rent growth across major metros over the last 5 years. So 2020 through Q2 2025. The range is, well, it's kind of staggering.
How wide a range are we talking? Give me some numbers.
Okay, so cumulative growth. In some markets, it's as low as like 0.7%, barely moved. But in others, over 40%.
40% difference.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Think about Atlantic City, New Jersey, over 42% growth in that 5-year period. Or Valdosta, Georgia, also topping 40%. Then you look at, say, Punta Gorda down in Florida, under 1%. Or even San Francisco, a big market, only around 9%.
Wow. Okay, the difference between less than 1% and over 40 is?
Yeah, that's dramatic.
Yeah.
What causes that kind of massive gap between cities?
Well, it's usually tied to things like population shifts, job growth, the fundamentals. We saw a lot of strength, for example, in parts of the Southeast and the Midwest in this data set. Those areas often benefited from people moving in, maybe specific industries doing well.
Makes sense. While some of the higher cost coastal places maybe hit an affordability wall or had different economic pressures.
Exactly. But here's the really crucial point for you listening. Even those metro numbers, whether they're high or low, are just averages.
Okay, so if my metro average isn't great, I'm not necessarily stuck.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
This is key. Those metro averages hide so much variation underneath. Your specific property's performance is often way more influenced by what's happening right around it in its specific neighborhood, its submarket, than by the overall city average.
Okay, that makes sense. So forget the big metro number for a second. What are these hyper-local things that actually matter more? All right, let's break it down. First, just the dynamics within that neighborhood. You could have 2 buildings a mile apart.
Yeah.
Right? One's near a new train stop or some cool new shops, things are looking up. The other, maybe not so much. Maybe it's got older infrastructure nearby, higher vacancy. Those little local trends can create totally different scenarios.
Yeah, I can picture that. What else?
Then there's the whole property class thing,
Huh.
class A, B, C. They perform differently.
Can you just quickly remind us what A, B, and C generally mean in this context?
Sure, yeah. So Class A is typically your newer high-end stuff. Top amenities, prime location.
Yeah.
Class B is usually a bit older, but still well-capped, good amenities, solid location. And Class C, generally older buildings, fewer bells and whistles, maybe not in the absolute best spot, often what people target for value-add renovations.
Got it. A, B, C. So how does that play in?
Well, a Class C property, even in a metro with slow overall growth, might have huge potential if its specific neighborhood is improving or if its rents are way below other comparable Class Cs. But a Class A building in a hot metro might actually be facing a ton of new Class A competition right nearby, dampening its prospects.
Yeah.
So understanding your property's class and its direct competitors is vital.
Right. Comparing apples to apples within your niche.
Exactly. And then don't underestimate the basics. The quality of the building itself, how well it's maintained, and honestly, how good the management is.
Yeah, that seems obvious, but probably gets overlooked.
It really does. A well-run building just performs better, period. Residents are happier, they stay longer, you can command better rents. It matters.
Okay, neighborhood, class, quality. What else? You mentioned Section 8 earlier.
Yes, and this is super important, especially for Section 8 properties.
Yeah.
Documenting and valuing your non-shelter services.
Ah, right, the extras, like security or maybe transportation help.
Precisely. Good security, maybe some resident programs, transportation options. These things have real value to residents, and importantly, HUD recognizes that value if it's properly documented.
So you can potentially justify higher rents based on those services, separate from just the basic market rent for the unit itself.
That's the idea. It allows your rent to reflect the total value you're providing, not just the four walls and a roof. And that can make a significant difference, often independent of whatever the broad market average is doing.
Okay, so wrapping this part up, forget just looking at the big city average. You've really got to drill down into your specific submarket, your property's class, how well it's run, and any extra value like those documented services that you're providing. That's where the real opportunity lies.
That's exactly it. And because it's so granular, so dependent on these local factors, you can find opportunities to improve almost anywhere. Even if your metro average looks kind of flat, you just have to look deeper at your asset.
Right. So, okay, let's say I'm listening, I own or manage a property. How do I actually do that? How do I assess my specific situation and potential? Is there a framework?
Yes, absolutely. It helps to think about properties potentially falling into one of, say, three broad categories based on this kind of detailed look. Each category suggests a different strategic focus.
Okay, what are these categories? How would I know which one fits my property?
Well, first, let's talk about what we could call market alignment properties. These are buildings where, chances are, a detailed analysis would show their current rents are significantly lagging behind what the local submarket and the property's features could actually support.
So they're leaving money on the table, basically.
Often, yes. Maybe they haven't had a professional market study done in years, or the neighborhood around them has changed dramatically and rents just haven't caught up. The big opportunity here is identifying that gap and closing it. The main action. Get that detailed professional analysis done.
Okay, market alignment. What's the next category?
Let's call the next one strategic enhancement. These properties are doing okay. They're generally competitive. But the analysis identifies specific areas for improvement. Maybe it's tweaking operations, or adding a particular service that's in demand locally, or maybe just timing certain actions better with market cycles.
So not way off base, but room to optimize.
Exactly. There's definite upside, but it requires more targeted action. The analysis here helps pinpoint precisely where to focus your efforts for the best return.
Makes sense. And the third one?
Finally, you've got market leadership properties. These are the ones already performing really well. Maybe they're at the top of their competitive set. For them, it's not about catching up. It's about staying ahead.
Maintaining that edge.
Right. That requires ongoing, sophisticated analysis. Keeping an eye on new competition, understanding subtle shifts in what tenants want, making sure you're still justifying that premium position. The analysis helps them remain proactive and sharp.
It really sounds like no matter which bucket your property falls into, alignment, enhancement, or leadership, that detailed professional analysis is the crucial first step.
It really is. And especially, as we keep saying, for Section 8 properties. Doing a formal HUD rent comparability study isn't just checking a box for renewal. It's a powerful strategic tool.
How so? What does it really give you beyond just a rent number?
Well, a good study provides that deep dive into your specific submarket that the metro averages completely miss. It's essential for properly documenting and, importantly, valuing those non-shelter services we discussed, making sure you get credit for everything you do.
So it helps justify the value prop.
Exactly. It also helps you align your strategy with very local market cycles, not just the broad trends. And critically, it ensures you're comparing your property to truly comparable ones, similar class, similar services, similar tenant profile, not just buildings that happen to be nearby but are actually in a different league.
That level of precision, yeah, that seems vital for making decisions that actually work for your specific building. Now, you mentioned timing earlier. Why is right now, mid-2025, such a good time to be doing this kind of assessment?
It's really a confluence of factors lining up right now.
Sure.
First, pretty straightforward. The Q2 2025 market data is fresh. It's complete, it's analyzed, it's available. You're working with the most current picture possible. If you wait, the data gets stale.
Okay, freshest data. What else?
Second, particularly for those Section 8 properties, this timing is often ideal if your contract renewal is coming up, say, in Q4 of this year, 2025, or maybe Q1 of 2026.
Why is now the time for that?
Because starting the analysis process now gives you runway. You have enough time to gather everything, get the study done properly, and prepare a really solid submission way before those deadlines loom. Trying to rush at last minute, that's stressful, and you might not get the best outcome.
Yeah, nobody needs that pressure. Makes sense to get ahead of it.
And third, doing this assessment now lets you position yourself strategically within that supply-constrained environment we talked about. Understanding your optimal market rent and value proposition while new supply is limited, that puts you in a stronger negotiating position, whether it's for renewal or just general operations.
Okay, so it's data availability, upcoming operational needs like renewals, and the current market dynamics all pointing to now being a good time.
That's a great summary of it.
Are there sort of mini windows within this period? Like, should I be doing something specific this summer versus the fall?
You could think about it that way, yeah. The summer months, July through September roughly, are perfect for that initial phase. Gathering your internal data, engaging an expert for the analysis, getting the Q2 numbers crunched, and doing some initial strategic thinking.
Laying the groundwork.
Exactly. Then, as you get into the fall, say October to December, that becomes more of your execution window, especially if you have those renewals coming up. Finalizing the rent comp study with the latest possible data, maybe even some early Q3 insights, getting all your documentation perfect, and having your package ready to go well before those Q4 or Q1 deadlines.
So a structured approach over the next 6 months or so.
Being proactive now really sets you up for success. It puts you in control.
Okay, let's try and bring this all together then. We're in mid-2025. The market's showing strong absorption, much less new supply coming online, creating this strategic window, especially if you're in Section 8.
Right.
But the real key, the big insight, isn't just that broad trend. It's understanding that success hinges on knowing your property's specific place in its little corner of the market.
Exactly. Your submarket, your property class, your operations, the specific services you offer.
And leveraging that detailed professional analysis, like a rent comparability study, to uncover those local opportunities, accurately value everything you provide, and then acting with smart timing, especially around renewals.
That's the formula. It moves you from just reacting to the market to proactively shaping your outcomes based on solid data about your unique asset. It's about empowerment.
So thinking about all this right now, with this fresh Q2 data in hand, the favorable supply situation, it really begs the question for anyone listening. Have you really assessed your property's unique market alignment lately?
Are you confident you know its true potential based on its specific neighborhood, its class, how it's run, the full value you deliver?
Is it a market alignment situation needing a big adjustment? Or is it about strategic enhancement or maintaining market leadership?
Knowing where you stand on that spectrum is really the crucial first step to grabbing the opportunities that are out there right now.
So the call to action seems pretty clear for multifamily developers, owners, property managers listening.
Yeah, don't let this mid-year window just slide by.
Consider digging into your property's specific market alignment opportunities now. Use these favorable conditions, get ahead of renewals, and position yourself for the best possible performance going forward.
The data's there, the market dynamics are helpful, the timing makes sense. It's really the moment to make those informed strategic decisions about your assets.
That's it for this week's edition of the Market Rent Weekly Brief. To access more insights and resources, visit marketrent.us. Thank you for listening. To learn more about how Clarendon can help you achieve your real estate goals, please visit us online. We appreciate your trust in us as your go-to source for market intelligence. Our goal is to equip you with the critical insights and data necessary to make informed decisions. Until next time, stay informed and stay ahead.